Justice, the confession of Brian Kohberger.
Hey guys, I want to get on here because we're going to talk about something that's finally coming to a close, okay? It had two ways to end. Either it end with us finding him guilty, we the people, the jurors, find him guilty by the evidence, and he go to they let him go, meaning he electrical or whatever, they shoot him injection or whatever. But he said that he want to go ahead and sign the plea because he don't want to see death, but he sure want to bring it to people. Yes, I said it. He don't want to see death, but he sure want to bring it to people. And that's the thing with people that go out and do things like this. They look at people as science projects, okay? And to the people that was in my comments talking about he not get to baby, okay, well then you hang out with him. You invite him to your house because as far as I'm concerned, in my eyes, he is. Okay, I've been following this case. You need to go online and look at Christina. I can't think of her name right now, but I've been following this case. My degree is criminal justice 4 years because that's what interests me. I did a 13-page thesis paper in order to get my degree, to close out my degree. And I guess what I did, Son of Sam, Ted Bundy, baby, you talking to the right one when you talk about to somebody because they think different than we do. That's why they like to ask them questions, okay? So anyway, let's go ahead and do this because I got to do other stuff. Okay? So let's go ahead. So just so we can make sure that we any other naysayers or the people who say it was more people in the house or whatever, I don't care who they say else did it. I don't care. He the one that's gonna sign the paperwork, so maybe he need to tell on his homeboys since y'all want to think like that, right? Her naysayers. Anyway, so let's start off with the Q-tip and spotless car were key evidence because what he did was he drove home and told me he was OCDC. He out there putting stuff in the garbage can 3 o'clock in the morning in his neighbor's garbage. Try by. Anyway. Okay, the lead prosecutor tasked with finding justice for 4 University of Idaho students killed in a grisly quadruple stabbing more than 2 years ago laid out his key evidence Wednesday at a court hearing for Brian Kohberger, who agreed to plead guilty early this week to avoid the death penalty. He want to give it, but he don't want to receive it. Okay? The evidentiary summary recited by lead prosecutor Bill Thompson, good job, Bill, before Kohberger entered his pleas, spun a dramatic tale that included a DNA-laden Q-tip plucked from the garbage in the dead of the night. Remember, he was putting stuff in the garbage? Ask me how I know, because I follow this stuff. A getaway car stripped so clean of evidence that it was essentially disassembled inside, and a fateful early morning DoorDash order that may have put one of the victims in Kohberger's path, because I remember it said she was going to get her food. Lord, I followed this case so closely, y'all. So closely. Because, like, I'm empathic. Like, I'm, like, really sensitive to people's feelings. So, like, my brain thinking about the girls, these beautiful girls. Oh, they were so beautiful. Hold on. This is what he was jealous of. He was jealous that he wasn't included in that. They were
happy living a normal college life.
So he decided that he wanted to go and take something. That's what this is, okay? So, yeah, it's monsters out there. Monsters that live in the flesh. That's what he was. Anyway, I'm getting pissed off thinking about it. Okay? So, the details offer new insight into how the crime unfolded on November 13, 2022, and how investigators ultimately solved the case using surveillance footage, cell phone tracking, and DNA matching, which they did. They did. I saw it. But the synopsis leaves hanging key questions that could have been answered at trial, including a motive for the stabbing. The motive was jealousy. He was online investigating. He wanted to see if he could get away with it. That's why he was in Reddit forums looking and trying to investigate other criminals. Don't ask me what I know, because I know. Including a motive for the stabbing and why Kohberger picked that house and those victims, all apparent strangers to him. They weren't strangers. He was one of the interns in school. The small farming community of Mascot in the northern Idaho Panhandle had not had a homicide in about 5 years when Kaylee Kunkals, Ethan Chapin, Zana Kurt Nodal, and Madison Mogan were found unalived at a rental home near campus. Kohberger, now 30, had begun a doctoral degree in criminal justice. See, I know what I'm talking about. at nearby Washington State University across the state line from Moscow, Idaho, months before the crime. Because, see, I know that I'm interested in that kind of stuff. Like, I have a very morbid mindset, very morbid thought process. The defendant has studied crime, Thompson said, as the victim's family members dabbed at their tears. In fact, he did a detailed paper on crime scene processing when he was working on his PhD, and he had that knowledge skill set. That's why he was trying to test himself, test us. What we learned from the hearing. Kohberger's cell phone connected with cell towers in the area of the crime more than 4 months before the stabbings. Thompson said in a ping on those towers 23 times between the hours of 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. in that period. He had turned it off. Okay. On the night of the killings, Kohberger parked behind the house and entered through a sliding door to the kitchen at the back of the house shortly after 4 a.m., Thompson said. He moved to the third floor where Madison, Morgan, and Kaylee were sleeping. They was best friends. They was real close. After killing both of them with a knife, Kohberger left a knife shelf next to Megan's body. He was trying to do so. He was a big man too, by the way. He was tall. Both victims' blood was later found on the shed, along with DNA from a single male that ultimately helped investigators pinpoint Kohberger as the only suspect. You heard that? Only suspect. And it's possible because they had been out drinking. They had been out drinking and doing whatever they do. Because everybody was like, why didn't she call? Why didn't she call? Because she was messed up. Okay? We are human. When we put intoxicants in our bodies, we don't think somebody out there watching us and want to come take us out. She had a good time with her friends and was home in the bed with her friends having fun with her friends, living her college life. I have a daughter going to college, okay? Living her college joyful life. I did college. It's fun. People like that don't come along. But anyway, Kohberger, on the floor below, another student was still awake. Zaina Carnoto had ordered DoorDash not long before, and as Kohberger was leaving, he crossed paths with her and unalived her with a large knife. Thompson said he then unalived her boyfriend, Ethan, who was sleeping in her bedroom. Sleep. He was asleep. That's why he didn't know they had been. Anyway, Kohberger left 2 others in the house alive, including one roommate who was expected to testify at trial that someone before 419 she saw an intruder there with bushy eyebrows, wearing black clothing and a ski mask. Roughly 5 minutes later, the car could be seen on the next door's neighbor's surveillance camera, speeding away so fast the car almost loses control as it makes the corner, Thomas said. What did Kohberger do next? After Kohberger fled the scene, Thomas said his cover-up was elaborate. Prosecutors believe he drove back roads to his apartments in Pullman, Washington, to avoid surveillance cameras on the major roads and didn't turn his cell phone back on until 4:48 a.m. By 5:26 a.m., he was back in Pullman, Thompson said. He had timed this. Later, Kohberger changed his car registration from Pennsylvania to Washington State, significant for investigators who were combing through surveillance camera footage because Pennsylvania law doesn't require a front license plate, making it harder to identify the vehicle. And by the time investigators did catch up with him weeks later, his apartment and office in nearby Pullman were scrubbed clean. Okay, hold on. This is a long read, guys, so let's see here. The Q-tip that broke the case. Investigators had honed in on Kohberger, but they needed to prove he was their suspect. With the DNA of a simple mystery meal on the knife shed, they worked with the FBI and local sanitarian department to secretly retrieve garbage from the Pennsylvania home of Kohberger's parents, seeking a DNA to match their suspect. They conducted what's called a trash pull during the nighttime hours, Thompson said.
Stay tuned for EP
set out on the street for collection and sent it to Idaho. The mysteries that may remain. Even while prosecutors detailed that night, a key question remained. Why did Kohberger target that house and those victims? Did he know him, and what was his motive? Okay, so we're going to go from here to the actual plea article. Okay, stay tuned, guys. Okay, sorry if I'm upset about it, but I don't like it.